Hey, what's happening, fearless networkers? Todd Falcone here today. So in one of my recent A teams, we got into a conversation about prospecting, which is pretty common, right? But we were talking about closing and what leads to a close, what leads to a higher number of enrollments and successful enrollments. In other words, piquing somebody's interest, taking them through the process, addressing their cares and their concerns, leading them to further information, ultimately them enrolling rather than not enrolling, right? And still, even when we apply what I'm about to share with you, people still sometimes don't enroll. That's just the way it is, no matter how well executed your process is. So the conversation around three-way calling came up, and I wanted to, one of my buddies, Mick's like, hey, do you have a video on it? I go, yeah, I got videos on it. I've got videos on it in different training courses, but it's been a while since I've actually done either a podcast or a blog episode and kind of discussed the whole idea behind a three-way call. And it's kind of interesting. It's when people poo-poo three-way calling, I kind of laugh because I don't know how you can say that three-way calling doesn't work. Yeah, has it been used for many, many years? Yes. Does it continue to work? It absolutely does. And what I find now and what I've found in the past is that people who, in my own organizations, the people that did the most three-way calls tended to get the biggest and best and most consistent results. It was clearly evident to me. If I had people on my team that were working and kind of doing it on their own, but they weren't utilizing third-party validation, which is essentially what a three-way call is, then they wouldn't sponsor as much. And the people that consistently did three-way calls, so if I had one person that was doing the same numbers and this person is doing the same numbers, the person that was doing three-way calls was outproducing the person that wasn't. And so, look, and there's different ways you can do third-party validation. What's a three-way call? What's the purpose of it? A three-way call is, okay, you're sitting here on the phone or engaged with somebody in conversation. They know you. They have a relationship with you. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a business acquaintance. They're looking at information, and then they're like, okay, well, they've watched or taken a look at something, and then they still have an interest, but maybe they got some cares or concerns. That's an ideal time to bring a third party in to give a different perspective, which is essentially what that is. And it's a person that they don't know, that they're much more likely to have a level of respect for, especially if it's somebody you've known for a long time. They may like you and trust you and dig you and all that, but when you bring in an expert in this arena, they're going to treat that person differently. It's just, you know how it is. Like, I mean, especially if you've got parents, like it's funny, like my kids will be like, they'll listen to grandma and grandpa, but they don't listen to the parents as much, right? It's just, it's like, what's the phrase? You can't be a prophet in your own backyard for too long. So anyhow, now the important thing is that, number one, if you're not enrolling a lot of people, or maybe you are and you'd like to enroll more people, are you utilizing three-way calling as a major part of your overall culture? And I mean, a three-way call could be in the form of a Facebook chat. It could be in the form of putting somebody into a Facebook group and having some type of messaging platform where people are providing their story and their evidence. But I think that one-to-one connection, I'm on the phone with you and I connect you with somebody who is typically in my upline, who's an expert and has more, or at the very least has more experience than I do. Maybe they started 2 days ago and I started today. They've got 2 more days of experience than I do. So obviously you don't want to put somebody on the phone with that individual that's got more experience. So number one, my suggestion is if you aren't doing it, then you need to start doing it. If you don't know who your upline is, it's important for you to know who your sponsor is. Obviously you do because they enrolled you. Who's your sponsor? Who's your sponsor? Who's your sponsor? And when you know that, it's cool because you have a relationship with those people. I know that the person that enrolled me is a former firefighter. The person that enrolled them is a former account executive. The person that enrolled them is a former whatever they are. And it also helps in matching personality types and people with similar experiences on a connect call. So connect calls, three-way calls, whatever you want to call them, are vital. And they're vital in today's environment. as much as they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I think it's, when you got mobile devices, it's, it's pretty easy to do these things now. In fact, let's talk about the execution of it real quick. So if I'm going to execute a three-way call, first thing I'm going to do is I'm on the phone with my prospect. They're interested. They're maybe asking some questions. While I'm on the phone with the prospect, I can say, look, hey, can you hang on for a second? First of all, I would probably text, I've got him on speakerphone. I would text my upline, say, hey, John, I'm on the phone with this guy, Bob. Bob's really interested in the opportunity. He's got a background in this. I'll give him a quick little rundown. Do you have a couple minutes for a three-way call? I'm on the phone with him right now. And he goes, and he fires back, yeah. So what that does is it lets you know that person's available. Now, back in the day, I would just play a guessing game. I was hoping, keeping my fingers crossed that my upline or whoever it was that I was calling on a three-way call was available. But now with text messaging or even a Facebook message, you could be on the phone with somebody or even in a Facebook conversation with somebody. You can either Facebook message them ahead of time or text message them. That way you're giving them a heads up. That way they can say, if you message me and you said, hey, Todd, you got time for a three-way call? I'm like, no, in 15 minutes I'll be clear. Or yes, I am free. And then instantly whether they're going to answer the phone, so you don't have to play the guessing game. Now, this is how it works. In terms of how you execute one. Now, today we have these mobile devices that most of us spend our time on, right? So doing a three-way call, in fact, I would even do this. This is the best thing for you to do because I'm not going to get into the mechanics of it. But Google how to do a three-way call on an iPhone, or Google how to do a three-way call on a Samsung. Google how to do a three-way call on a cordless phone if you happen to still have a landline. And they're different because typically on a landline, you're going to press this flash button. It gives you a different dial tone. Like on my iPhone, if I'm talking to somebody, I can just press the plus button, add the call. You need to know the mechanics of it yourself. I'm not going to get into that in terms of the technical side of it in this particular video, but I'm going to do really kind of the setup and how a three-way call should go. So I'm on the phone with an interested party. They've looked at some information. I typically wouldn't bring, for me personally, a person to a three-way call with an upline expert until I've got an interested person who's already looked at information. In fact, the way I learned to close, some of you know this because you've followed me for a while, the way I learned to close was I had a guy, Ed, that I was working with, and I was very bad at enrolling people, and he said, listen, just Todd, go out prospect, find people that are open, that are interested, show them some information about the product and the business. Those that are, after they've seen some information, then put them on the phone with me, and I'll help you do it. And so that's how I learned to close, by listening to Ed, right? And so what I would do, and this is the execution of it, not the technical side, but the actual things that you do, is so I'm going to go grab, so I've texted Ed ahead of time in this example. I'm going to now say, John, can you hang on a second? I never ask for permission to do a three-way call with a prospect. It's not necessary. You don't say, hey, is it okay? Just don't do it. I never have, and I don't think it's necessary at all. You can say, hey, Bob, can you hang on for a second? Sally, can you hang on for a second? I'll be right back. Yeah, and most people are used to that. Because you're not gone for very long when you say that. And we're not barraging them and surprising them with anything, because this is how we set up. So I flash over, and my guy answers. I'm like, hey, you ready? He's like, yep, cool. And then I bring the calls back together. I say, Bob, are you back? Or maybe I'm changing the name. It doesn't matter. Bob, you back? He said, yeah, I'm here. I said, listen, Bob. I was able to grab a really successful business partner of mine who's one of our top trainers in our team. He's one of the top income earners in our company. He's been in network marketing for over 15 years. He's a cool guy, and he's somebody that you're very likely to work with should you decide to do this business. I figured it'd be a great opportunity for you guys to at least say hi. Maybe he can address some questions for you. Bob meets Sandy, Sandy meet Bob, right? So in this case, Sandy's my sponsor that I brought on. That's called edification. Simple stuff. All you're doing is building the person up. You're not saying, hey, Bob, I want you to meet Sandy, Sandy meet Bob, and say nothing. I want to at least build the person up to who they are. You don't want to overdo it. Hey, this guy's made $150 million in the business. He's he's the greatest network marketer on the planet. I mean, unless he is, I don't know. But whatever the deal is, I think it's just important for you to build some level of respect. And it's just an introduction. So, Bob, I want you to meet Sandy. Sandy, meet Bob. And then you do the connection, and then you shut up. Literally, you zip up your lips, and you say nothing, and you turn your ears on, and you tune into the conversation. If you've got a good expert upline, they know what to do. What are they going to do? They're going to say, Bob, great to meet you. Todd was saying some good things about you. She says you're very interested in the product, the business. Would love to address any questions for you. Listen, would it be okay if I shared with you what's happened for me with this company, with this business? Sure, yeah, go ahead. Well, listen, I started here. Maybe the person will share a little story. Come back to the person and say, listen, are there any questions that I can address for you? Is there anything that I can assist you with? And it gives the person a different perspective, a different viewpoint from another person other than yourself. And third-party validation in all aspects of marketing is a heavily used thing, right? And it's very heavily used, or should be in network marketing when it comes to enrolling. You're not doing this, so you're not saying, hey, Bob, I want to put you on the phone with my sponsor so he or she can close you for me because I can't. It's not about that, even though they might help. And that's really their job, is to help lead that person closer to a decision. But at that point, when you've done the introduction, you never interrupt. Like I would never say, oh, don't forget to tell them, Sandy, don't forget to tell them about the compensation plan. Oh, yeah, what about, tell them about the really cool bonus that we've got. Because you blow the credibility at that point. So I just literally, and even when I was making a ton of money in network marketing and multiple six figures, $500,000 a year, and I was crushing it, I would still do the introduction and I would zip up my lips and still play the game the same exact way. Am I fully capable of enrolling that person? Am I fully capable of, interjecting? Certainly I could, but I don't. And so I would just do the introduction. I would sit back and I would listen. I would listen to the engagement back and forth, what my expert was saying to my prospect, and I would learn from that. And that's how I learned to close. That's how I learned to say things differently. And then at the end, your upline expert, if they're doing the right thing, they say, hey, Todd, you still here? I go, yeah, I'm right here. He goes, well, great. Why don't you guys finish up the conversation? And sounds like Bob's ready to enroll, and go for it. I'm like, cool. Sandy, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Take Sandy off, and then I go back to Bob. I'm like, great. Well, Bob, let's get you started. It doesn't always work like that, but so many times I would literally get done with a three-way call. That person would help me wrap it up, and then I would enroll that person into my network marketing business. So in fact, as an upline, when I've taken that role, many times I'll literally lead the person to a decision, to a point where I'm like, hey, has Todd had a chance to tell you the different options that we have? Okay, well, there's this, and this. How do you see yourself getting started? Well, I see myself getting started at this. Great. Well, I'm gonna let Todd wrap up with you. He can get you enrolled. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to assisting you, helping you build this. And make sure Todd gives you my phone number so we can stay connected. And I mean, that's basically what's happening in a three-way call. And it's so crazy to me because so many people don't do it. Either they don't know that it's important to do it, or B, they just don't do it. Which it's weird, especially if you know that it's important and then you don't do it. That's to me, that's insanity. If you know that it's an important part of the process, if you know that it's so important that it actually makes more business happen, that it makes it easier for you, and you still don't do it, then I think there's a problem. So now you know what to do. It's not that hard. It's important now that you start doing it. And I think it's so cool, because if I got people that are calling me on three-way calls all the time, I know that business is flourishing. I know that my whole team is plugged in, and they know. And even down in depth, the people that are beneath them, they're calling them for support and assistance on three-way calls. I think it's important to have as broad of a three-way call list as you possibly can. Your sponsor, your sponsor, sponsor, your sponsor, 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 and so on, and up, however far upline you can go. And then let's say, in this example, you have a situation where maybe your sponsor is not very available. Well, or they're flaky, or they're not very good. I don't know. Maybe you can find a buddy, somebody who you know in the company that you're a friend with, that's also struggling from the same situation. You guys can support each other. Now, you may not be in the same line of sponsorship, but at least you can still utilize one another to have some level of third-party validation if that happens to be missing in your upline, which sometimes it is. And then if you can't do that, then guess what? You're going to have to grow up really fast, right? And you're going to have to deal with it yourself. But first things first, you go to the upline, find the people in the upline that are willing, able. If I had somebody telling in my organization saying, look, I want to bring three-way calls to you, I want to go crush this business. I'm like, here's game on, let's go. Here's my phone number. I'm not going to play the avoidance game. I don't want to talk to you. You're the person you're important to me. Like, I want to help people create success. Sometimes it's crazy how people don't understand that my job is to help you as a person in my organization to succeed, not disappear and hope that you're going to do it all on your own. Some people are flaky uplines. And if you got a flaky upline, I'm sorry to hear that, then you're going to have to step up or maybe find a sideline person. I don't know where you're finding me. You might be finding me on YouTube. You might be finding me on my podcast. You might be finding me on toddfalcone.com. I don't know. But if you want the rest of this episode and all the details that go along with it, head on over to toddfalcone.com/episode 29. That's toddfalcone.com/episode 29. We've got some downloadable material for you that helps you become a better network marketer. So plug on in there. You can get the rest of the details from this episode. Have an amazing day. We'll see you on the next one.